Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. Just a few things to unpack before a well-deserved long weekend. On the wrist, what I call the Steel Master, one of my favorite Seiko releases of last year. Sort of a reduced version of the mighty Marine Master 300. This one has a great steel bezel, really beautiful. Great action on the bezel, very refined, and contours the wrist to perfection. Love it. Speaking of Seiko, they have another anniversary to celebrate somehow, this time the 140th. I guess 140 years since the creation of Seiko or when the founder was born. No idea anymore. Anyway, everything that was released last year in blue is going to come out in green apparently, with already 3 divers announced. Green is the color also for Zenith. We've been talking about Zenith a lot. So it was Watch Week for the LVMH brands this week. Zenith has a new green watch. Bulgari is coming out with more options for the Octo Finissimo. And same for Hublot, lots of crazy colors coming out. It feels really forced by LVMH on those brands to come up with more and more products, lots of different colors, which kind of dilute every model I find, especially that Octo Finissimo, which finally got the interest of the watch guys into the brand with a very great movement, very thin, and now complications as well, with a nice chronograph, which I think is very interesting. I really like the one they did for Revolution. There's a new one coming now, but the pace is just very fast for those releases, and it kind of dilutes the identity of every model. For example, from Zenith, I got the A384 Revival, Panda dial, and now it comes up with new colors already. It's just the reason why those brands are never going to be able to compete with Rolex. Rolex tends to have a very limited range of colors, and it's very defined, very easy to recognize. This is a bit too much. I would prefer to keep a stronger identity for every watch from those brands. Now, staying with Zenith, of course, this week it is Chronomaster Sport Mania. Sort of a combination of a lot of elements that Zenith had been building up over the years, the El Primero base, and then the evolution with the Calibre 3600. But it's this presentation, the larger ceramic bezel, and the relationship to the size of the watch that has really captured people's attention, because it makes it look quite a bit like the Rolex Daytona, a watch which is impossible to get on the retail market. Now, so many great things about this watch. By the way, have you noticed how the bracelet is almost stretched in the look? Really great to aerate the wrist on a hot day. But this watch brings it all together, and could be your only watch. It's got the date, the lume, great complication that only Zenith really does at the moment, in a unique position on the market. It's got a bit of blue, but not too much. We're a bit tired of the blue, so it's nice black on steel, but with a little bit of color, a little bit of red. Great, unique complication with a long history of the base caliber. It's a great everyday watch, good size. They kept the lug to lug and the lug width very tidy. So an excellent everyday proposition, and if you add it to your collection, it's gonna probably take the place of a few watches. You could really reduce your collection with this watch. I mentioned the Daytona. So what I like about this one is that, well, first, it's not a cheap watch. It's a 10 grand watch, which is not that much cheaper than the Daytona. But it addresses a few things that kept me from buying the Daytona. The screw-down pushers, the absence of date, the symmetry of the subdials towards the case, but not towards the indices. I prefer having the Zenith configuration. And of course, you can always get the Zenith Daytona of the past, if this is what you prefer, like I do. A bit of color, and of course the availability. So great watch release. Now, you might have noticed that the Seamaster Aqua Terra is on my table here. Why? Because I realized that it was in 3 Daniel Craig movies. We associate this one with Skyfall, the one he wears in Skyfall, has a frame around the window, and it's not the master coaxial yet, not the master. So it's the previous version to this one. This one is a bit of a transition model, so it's the last evolution before they went for the horizontal patterns, which is why this one is still in high demand. I like that they removed the frame, the thick frame around the date. It kind of looked old. A thin frame would have been really nice. But what's cool here is that you have the more than 15,000 Gauss mentioned, but although it's the master coaxial, it's still only the 8500 caliber, not the 18900. I was watching a website retracing all the releases of the Aqua Terra, and this one was kind of an in-between. It was not even mentioned on the website. So very interesting bit of kit that we have here. It's in beautiful condition. I've repolished a bit the center links. And so to get back to James Bond, yes, it was in Skyfall, but you will, if you have a keen eye, you will notice it also in a Spectre. And even if you look at the first pictures we've seen of the long-awaited No Time to Die, which might end up just coming out on Netflix before the whole franchise dies. They've already announced it was going woke with a female lead in the next installment. Yeah, the owners of the franchise have been trying to sell it in this COVID world. It's just a dead product now. So big trouble there for James Bond, I think. But this watch will remain maybe the classiest watch worn by James Bond. The original one in the novel was meant to wear the Rolex Explorer. Then when they shot the first movies, Sean Connery had the Submariner, and different watches came after that. And then Omega took over with a different Seamaster for every movie. So this one, really classier at 38.5 millimeter. And it is what a Seamaster is supposed to be at the origin of the Seamaster. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. You take care. And I'll speak to you next week. Bye-bye.